Now we're live. Right now I'm streaming with the independent ego. He is a egoist, and he's basically a goat. He's basically the meme that we like to call spook. So you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Independent Ego. I'm basically what I call myself on Twitter. It's egoist, anti-tribalist, quasi-cynic. Those are the three labels I like to describe myself as, because that's what fits my personality, basically.
So we're gonna talk about Western civilization and wait, please forgive me.
Western
I might,
civilization, the failures of liberalism, and your personal brand of egoism is what you sent to me.
yeah, yeah, that.
Yeah. So what do you want to begin with?
I guess what's your take on the current state of Western civilization?
To me, it's personally dead. It's not it's not it's not gonna be saved, no matter how many white nationalists say we must protect white Europa or something like that. It's inevitable that it's supposed to collapse. All civilization collapses. You look at Egypt, it collapsed. Mesopotamia collapsed. Indus River civilization collapsed. You look at all the Chinese dynasties, they all collapsed. It's only a matter of time. It's what happens after that civilization is gone, is what I'm concerned with.
No. So do you think the when Western civilization is ultimately dead, do you think it's gonna be a phoenix, a reburn, and people who ultimately learn from their traditions and the values that their, let's say, forefathers taught them, able to build a much stronger civilization?
It depends. I mean, there's a possibility that some will use the spooks, the fixed ideas from before. And well, let me explain what fixed ideas are. The spooks. Spooks are fixed ideas. It's ideas people have in their heads. It's not really based on reality. It's based off of necessity of belief. So, say like you have your average Christian, their spook is God. God itself is a spook. It's a manifestation. It's a
You and I. Oh man, I hope my internet is not going out. Oh man, he left. Man. And you're back. No. And you're back. Now he's gone. Okay. Oh man, this is gonna be like the most awkward screen, the most awkward um scene, man. Is your mic fixed? Serious static. So no. And this is gonna be like the most awkward screaming if things don't fix, man. So awkward, man. So awkward. Please work. Please work.
How about now?
Yeah, no, I hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Sorry, that was all my fault. That was all my fault.
Don't worry, it
All
was just
right.
like 5 minutes of dead awkwardness.
Yeah, sorry. Now where were we?
You're describing ideologies, which you describe as spooks.
Yeah, I was saying fixed ideas. Fixed ideas are beliefs that people have in their heads. They're metaphysical abstractions, which people cling on to in an attempt to try to find their own explanation as to what reality is. It could be words like God. It could be Jesus. It could be Muhammad. It could be the humanists saying we need to serve man and its cause. Stuff like that. And fixed ideas like tradition, fixed ideas like the inherent states of like nationalism and nations, they might come back alive after the death of Western civilization. That's just my opinion of it.
Just my point of view of it. I say just let the West burn, just let the West fall, and for people who are willing to preserve their fixed ideologies, such as traditionalism or paleoconservatism or libertarianism, I'm really glad that they're able to hold on and keep their faith, but they're foolish to believe that they can rewind the clock to a particular time or period that was best suited to their own ideology.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much my belief. Their attempt to save whatever's left of Western civilization is kind of hopeless. I mean, it's already tainted according to their viewpoint. It's already corruptible. There's no going back. There's only trying to get something from the past and moving it forward. Is like how was it Trudeau Tom said about it. That's their only thing of moving forward is to take something from behind them. So yeah.
Didn't know you watched Trudeau Tom.
Yeah, I watch him and some other fascists too. Have you heard of a guy by the name of Cultured Thug?
No. Wait. Tom is not a fascist, but
well, kind of.
He would describe himself as the fascist. He describes himself now as a reactionary.
Close enough. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Although he might be really take on the term fascist.
He wouldn't care if he was called a fascist. Yeah. As you can tell by his counter of libertarian sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I believe in the West, particularly. I think it's it's inevitable that it's going to collapse. All civilizations collapse. They all do.
Do you think, I don't know, do you think there's something of value of traditionalists or trying to maintain the values of their, like, let's say like a Catholic? Do you think there's something of value of the Catholic traditionalists maintaining their value despite all the hardship that they been through from their point of view?
Well, not really, because most Catholics now today don't even believe in Catholicism themselves. They see the church as another social gathering. I mean, if you already see that as a church, then you already failed Church 101 in accordance to Christianity. The same problem is occurring with Protestantism. They just see church as, oh, how's Billy Bob doing? And did you watch the baseball game yesterday? And yeah, You know, as soon as the sermon turns off, their mind on Christ is like basically gone. It's
Eh,
essentially
I don't know. Like I've spoken to a few rather Catholic traditionalists on my channel before. They seem to be firm believers. And also, they hate their pope as well. They hate their pope, so that's a good sign.
hate their what?
Their pope.
Their Pope Francis. Yeah, I could see why. Uh, he's a bit of like say a socialistic leaning, and what was it? What's that theology called? Liberation theology. He kind of is like buddy with that, and just feeding the poor no matter who it is. So right wing Catholics wouldn't take kindly to that because they thought, well, it's like why don't we just serve Catholics first, you know, and then whoever else second. But yeah, I don't think Catholicism is going to be really saved. I mean, it had a good run to what 2,000 years, thousands of years, but many people in Catholicism don't usually believe it themselves unless like a tragedy happens. So like if your mom dies or your brother dies of cancer or someone dies in a car accident, and like, all right, I need to go back to church and pray, you know, and then once that's settled, they go back to whatever they're doing. I mean, there's Catholics, especially in America, their 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 focus on Catholicism is basically just a show. It's to show, hey, look, I did something, I contributed to something, and it makes me feel virtuous at the end of the day, even though they basically they're not doing their faith all the time. Like how Christ is like saying like you should serve me every day. Like that's how it should be technically according to Christian. But too many people on here, too many kids on here are basically shit posting on Twitter. They're basically advocating for traditionalism yet doing nothing about it themselves. They're not practicing what they preach. Is essentially what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, I see your point. That's just like when I saw True Little Tom's video on traditionalism, just like basically be like a stoic, like no matter what, just be a stoic and always just find find the value of your traditions and hopefully rebuild it after the sorry, I'm trying to come up. Rebuild the traditions among the ruins. Basically, people who believe in traditions are basically already among the ruins.
Yeah, that's according to their philosophy. Yeah, like because uh like the majority of their traditions are collapsing as we speak because of the times. The times are changing. I mean, modernity has its way of you know, killing off people and replacing it with something else. That's why I don't like it's why I don't like the progressives, and that's why I don't like the traditionalists, because one's trying to preserve the status quo, another is trying to make a new status quo. I just can't stand either of them. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, just so I don't know, just I don't know. I love Western society. It's sort of punched. It destroyed itself. But hey, just
But aren't you like black, like African American?
yeah, yeah. You could say that I'm black.
So how do you connect to Western civilization in general? Because most of these people who are advocating for it are usually like your average white nationalists. Like what do you feel connected to the West about?
What? Let's just like I don't know. Like the reason why I am so attached to the West is it basically Like I'm just so blessed to be in a very rich civilization. This is why I don't know, just more willing to preserve Western values. I was taught to basically hate so-called white values, and I was just able to overcome that, I guess.
Or who told you to hate those values though? Uh,
My
your parents or your people around you?
well, just just the culture that I'm around, and basically being told directly just that white people are afraid of black people, thinking they can overcome um, white people, black people, whatever. Just that. That's what I've been told, that white people are afraid of black people,
It
but
depends.
I was able to move beyond that thinking.
Right. Uh-huh. So, but that kind of so that thinking of black people hating white people. No, white people fearing black people. That came from blacks, or did it come from like white progressives?
Well, well, it probably came from a mix of both. Like like say let's say like a let's say if you ask like a person, like a random, like a black person anywhere in the United States, and they probably been told, just don't just they've already been told at some point in their lives that white people are ultimately afraid of them. Part
Mm-hmm.
and because partly because they believe they're oppressing them in some way, so
Mm-hmm.
so they can overcome them. That they're afraid that black people will overcome white people. They've probably been said that at some point in their lives. But I
Yeah.
honestly, like it's the way me personally, I personally blame the school system for this partly, and um just the way that most older black people were taught.
Uh, I could see some of that. I mean, I took a AP U.S. history course when I was in high school, and basically half or more than half of American history was talking about slavery. They had to talk about slavery in one like specific areas. Like even if it was like the Mexican American War, we had to talk about some of the slaves that were involved in the Mexican American War. Uh, one of the main sources that was like a recommended reading we read excerpts of was Howard Zinn, if you know who that is.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Like it's a history of the United States of America from his perspective, and it was like a democratic socialist. But the reason why they picked him is because he's the most hopeful, even though it's a pessimistic version of interpretation of what American history was all about. So like he would talk about how bad America is and blah blah blah, but at the end of like each chapter he would talk about how to change it, how to improve it. And that's why they took his stuff. People were like, "Well, this is like Marxism and invading our our schools and our colleges and universities." It's because of the message that America could be greater. He wasn't a full blown Marxist. He was a democratic socialist, though. So his guilt is basically on that fact of slavery existing in America, and we didn't give African Americans or any other minorities rights until starting the Civil Rights Act in 1965. That was his issue. So I could see that indoctrination uh, with some of it, but everything is, like I said on Twitter recently, that everything's manipulation. Like everything, everyone's trying to manipulate you. Everything is basically propaganda if you think about it, because everyone's trying to promote their ideas, onto the table. They're trying to make everyone believe what they want to believe, and it just doesn't work out in the end because everyone's realizing, hey, some people in this group is shit, and so is the other ones. So
Well,
yeah.
well, this is Russian propaganda. This is Iranian propaganda. This is capitalist bourgeois propaganda. This is this is Marxist bullcrap propaganda. Just everything. Everyone is a propagandist. Everyone. And
Yeah.
also, everybody. Also, by this reasoning, everybody is racist. Everybody's sexist. Everybody misogynistic. So, yeah.
Yep.
Let's enjoy this. Let's enjoy our fix. Let's enjoy our spooks for a while and indulge the indulge more of the Kool-Aid.
Well, let's guilt ourselves so we can mutilate our arms. It just keeps you just keep shaving your arms. It's like it's really doesn't help you as an individual. It really doesn't. You have to recognize that bad shit has happened. Of course, you can't deny it happened, but you can also say I had nothing to do with this because you didn't. Even if your ancestors did, so what? Those are my ancestors. They live in a different context. They live in a different time period. I had nothing to do with this. So, yeah, that's essentially what I think of it as.
Just I don't know. Just everybody got their own agenda to push. So it's always been like that.
Yeah, basically.
Yes, I don't know. My profile picture of Frederick Bastiat once said that the government is a great fiction where everybody endeavors. And so, you know.
And Max Stirner said, "My own will of me is the state's destroyer." So
wow, that's even more better.
Yeah, my own will of me is my state's destroyer. That means if I think about it, it exists. If I think about the state, it exists. If I ignore it, then it has no power over me. So it's all about thoughts with Stirner, and that's what I like about it, because most of the stuff you see on here is just all in people's heads. It's like, oh, you want to kill me, you want to commit white genocide. It's just all you're in your head, bro. Most of the time.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I've been around several political communities, and they're all absolute cancer from my point of view.
Yeah, totally. I don't like skeptics.
Now he's gone.
Oh, sorry about that. Doxed.
Yeah, man.
Also,
also, why you don't like Mises? Well, Hayek. Why you don't like Hayek anyway?
Oh, dude. I don't like Hayek because he misrepresents Marxists and he misrepresents the Nazis and fascists, trying to compare it basically the same, justifying the same thing over and over again throughout his chapters. And it's like, see, this one Marxist went over to become a Nazi. Therefore, Marxism and National Socialism are like the same. They're both collectivist totalitarians. You know, it's so stupid. It doesn't understand that anyone can switch from any ideology, whether it be libertarian or communist. It could be communist to libertarian, National Socialist to libertarian, libertarian to National Socialist. I mean, this happens all the time with ideologies. You know, there's no link to it just because someone flipped. You get what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I still think The Road to Serfdom is still a good read if you're into libertarians or more.
No, because he justifies the state and is like, well, it's like, well, I like my state, but anything that, you know, is against my preference is like literally Hitler. Literally.
No, like, with Hayek, Hayek was a utilitarian, and just like over time in his life, he definitely got more radical.
Yeah, I wonder when, because he justified the state with the rule of law when it was when it's good for him, you know, but when it's bad for him, when it's bad for his rights, he bitches about it. So
I don't know, like just like with Hayek, there's I don't know, as Jeffrey Tucker's once described it, there was you can sense an intellectual struggle in his works.
Oh yeah, like with blaming Hegel for the left and right divide. There's like more to it than just Hegel. Like Hegel is not entirely to blame, because like you can name the left Hegelians, you can name Marx and Engels and all that. Could you name any of the right Hegelians?
Well, as Mises described in the 3rd chapter of Human Action, there were right-wing autocrats of Prussia. So,
but those existed before Hegel. Frederick the Great existed before Hegel. Prussian monarchs existed before Hegel. The aristocracy existed before Hegel. So this is nothing new. The old right came from monarchs, essentially.
Yeah.
And imagine that with the French Revolution, the liberals would be considered today the modern day communists. And if you know, Bastiat sided with what was it, the Liberal Congress. It was basically assembly of leftists of the time. Even though he disliked Proudhon, and all that stuff, he sided with them because of individual liberty over monarchy. So you see how the things change and how it's not like all black and white. That's what I hate about Tucker. Like he makes it as a black and white thing, and he's been saying this shit for 2 years now, before Donald Trump's elected president. He's like saying, well, it's all because of the Reds versus the Browns, and if you read this by Mises, The Omnipotent Government, which I'm trying to read, it's garbage. Like he said, read this, it explains the left and right divide, and he's like, it basically came from Hegel. It's like, no, this left and right divide existed before Hegel.
My whole true theory came from the road to serfdom, then.
Yeah, basically that. Hegel and not Hegel, Hayek and Mises came up with the horseshoe theory, and Mises is doing the same shit as Hayek, saying all Nazis are Marxists, essentially, because they're totalitarian collectivists who are trampling down liberalism. If we just did liberalism, it's like, okay, then when was liberalism achieved? Oh, when the economy was doing good. Oh, okay. So when liberalism was great, the economy is doing great. If it wasn't, just blame it on socialism. That's basically Mises.
Well, you could think of the government as the Misesian version of the road to serfdom. Then
it's historic. And the stuff he's saying is historically inaccurate too. Like to point an example, it's like for Germany, like when he talks about Bismarck, and he's like, Bismarck did X because what he really wanted was imperial power, and he wanted Germany to become like an imperial state to conquer all around the world. And I'm like, no, Bismarck did not want colonies in Africa. He specifically said, no, that's going to cost us too much and resources, and it's going to cost too much, and actually funding these German colonies. He went with it anyways because he wasn't a king, or Kaiser, because he was the statesman. And the reason why he stopped wars, why he played around, because he was a great tactician. He was a great statesman. He knew how to manipulate people. He knew how to unite Germany under one banner. And it was through sets of manipulation and coercion. He was a great statesman for that. But no, Mises just basically misses that point.
Man, he grew up in Austria. He should know his history. He should know his military history.
Yeah. It's funny, like he talks about Nazi Germany all the time, blah, 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 Nazi Germany. But like, didn't he work for Dollfuss, Anschluss Dollfuss from the Fatherland Front in Austria until the Nazis came in? Yeah. Fucking hypocrite.
Well, come on, man. Mises was trying to just have where I heard the story goes, like Misa's just trying to stop doing inflationary policies. He was just advising against that. So.
Yeah, and he basically didn't bat an eye when, they just did government crackdowns. They banned trade unions. They banned, all these other parties, the Social Democrats, because they're the ones who actually improved housing. They actually improved, public parks and infrastructure. But, these, and then the Fatherland Front took over, basically cracked down on unions, just killed most of them. And then, when it turned into chaos because of the Great Depression, and then the Nazis came in. And to be fair, the fascists in Austria cracked down on Nazis too. So, but what was Mises doing? He was just going back and forth from Switzerland to Austria like it was nothing until the Nazis came in and he rushed to get the hell out. And then he wants to complain. He wants to complain about authoritarianism. But yeah, I haven't seen him yet talk about Austria at all.
Well, maybe he's an Austrian patriot.
It's so stupid, I swear. Every time I read like a Mises biography, I'm cringing because it's like he doesn't talk about what happened in Austria at all. Never claims responsibility for that. Never. He just blames everyone else. Oh, it's just the Marxists, it's like Marxists are Nazis now. It's like so stupid.
Well, according to Rothbard, he considered Mises to be the part of the non-communist left. Maybe that's right, Jeffrey.
Says Rothbard, the guy who tried to appeal to the new left and failed, and then went to the paleocons.
Actually, Mises warned them about that.
Yeah, because Mises knew that dealing with those people, there's nothing to be accomplished from. Like even the proponents of the new left, Herbert Marcuse, like even said like, yeah, many of these people who are saying they support me and having banners like Marx, Mao, Marcuse, they're not even actually reading my books. So they're just protesting out there. They're singing and shouting, and they basically, once Vietnam was over, they became nothing. They just got absorbed into the system. And that's what you see problems with now, is that you see a few radicals in universities. You're seeing Marxists and seeing crazy people like saying kill white people or something like that. It's because those are fragments from before in the 60s. Like you're still having hiccups from it.
I don't know. I'm more forgiving. I'm more forgiving when it comes to Mises. Well, then again, I got a fixed ideology, but I don't know.
Yeah, I have my criticisms of him. What I do want to read though is David Friedman in his book The Machinery of Freedom. One of its chapters, it's called Problems, and apparently it's a critique of the non-aggression principle from the ANCAP perspective. So I'm interested in reading that soon, once I'm done reading Mises.
So yeah, what's your criticism of Rothbard anyway?
Well, the fact that he's a joke. Where to even begin? Like, his theory on the non-aggression principle wasn't original. It came from Benjamin Tucker. His opinion on natural rights came from other people too. Basically, he just copied and pasted whatever his beliefs and added on and said, "This is mine," without any reference back.
Well, I heard that he did it very sloppily, but
like every time I read him, just like it's like Hayek, I'm cringing. Like the stuff he says of before, like after he got tired of the new left and started going along with the right. Like, it's cringy because he's lacking any context, and these are the same arguments that we're seeing today when it comes from Trump supporters and stuff. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah. Thoughts on Hoppe?
Physical removal looks like a good idea. I don't like his argumentation ethics.
And I think right now, a former egorist libertarian also probably make a very similar criticism as you.
Yeah, pretty much. Right now. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just I don't know. Like I like Rothbard. Well, he was dishonest, but hey.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most one of his example of this dishonesty came from David Friedman, actually.
Really, what was that?
It was coached Adam Smith. When Rothbard wrote a book called A View of History from an Austrian Perspective, and he basically said that Adam Smith was a plagiarist, a statist, and all that, that he supported attacks, but just and David Friedman just came in just like, yeah, here's this reason why he supported the attacks anyway, and also the Wealth of Nations was original. Basically, that's basically what he said.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like this is the problem with libertarians. They can't contextualize from before. They can't contextualize what Adam Smith was thinking or when some other thinker was thinking at the time. They do this with Mussolini too, with their quotes, like about his quotes about private initiatives. He's saying that private property could be taken away if, like, your business is doing shitty or you're working against a nation. So if you're trading with a foreign enemy, for example, and you're trading in weapons and supplies, isn't it logical to assume that I'm going to take over your industry in a fascist state because you're supplying an enemy? Like, isn't that, logical to take it over because they're against your foreign, against the national interest?
Yeah, that's pretty logical.
Yeah. And then everyone's like, oh, that's vague. It can mean anything. It's like, that's why they have laws. That's why they had laws in fascist Italy. They had constitutions. They had rules and regulations to be in place and say, this is what happens when you mess with, the people, the Italian people. So it's like libertarians have a hard time putting into context what people are saying. Like Adam Smith. Adam Smith was basically writing a book. I can't remember the full name, but it's The Wealth of Nations. It was an inquiry to the nature and causes of the wealth of nations. That's the full title. But Adam Smith was basically talking about what was occurring in England, what he saw, he talks about corn laws, how they were adjusted, how they're selling to France at a certain percentage, and how these regulations don't really help in the fact of free trade. He wasn't a full-blown anarchist. Sorry, most anarchists back then were fucking mutualists. They were Proudhon. They were Bakunin. I mean, people couldn't conceptualize capitalism without a state until Rothbard basically invented it off of thin air. I mean, I'm sorry. Because we've seen cases of capitalism with a state. It's occurred. There's different phases. There's different economies. But overall, it's private ownership. Even though it's not 100% private ownership, even though it's not, 100% government control, it was mixed. That's what I think.
What's your thoughts of my guy Bastiat and his exchange with Pierre Proudhon?
I haven't read most of his stuff, but I'm interested in reading and see what happens.
Well, well, well. According to Karl Marx, Bastiat won. That the
Really?
Yeah.
So Proudhon must be that bad.
Although Karl Marx didn't like Proudhon, but
mm, I think in Capital, Marx praised Proudhon. I remember not praised Proudhon. He praised Bastiat for pointing out something. I can't remember which, but he talked about Bastiat one time.
oh, that's pretty interesting. I probably should. No, I have no interest. I have no interest in reading Das Capital. Actually,
I've read all 3 volumes.
was it worth it?
It kind of was. I mean, you have to keep rereading it. I don't think if you have that attention span, then I'd recommend it. Otherwise, then you're not gonna get it unless you watch like hours upon hours of lectures by other people too about it. David Harvey comes up to my mind as a recommendation for it.
Well, have you read Thomas Sowell Marxism?
No. And I have a lot to say about Thomas Sowell. I even got Academic Agent pissed off. He's like, I made enemies. You made enemies for life. It's like, that was my opinion on an unpopular opinion thread. I mean, it's like, what else could you say? It's like, I want your facts right now. Give me your facts right now about Thomas Sowell, and I'll debate you. It's like, I was like, okay. It's like I'm gonna have to write a whole book about why Sowell's wrong. I can't explain it in short detail because anything I explain in short detail, he's just gonna dismiss it because it's like, ha, you got one thing wrong. Therefore, I'm not believing any word you say. Because that's how he works. That's how he operates.
Well, with Sowell Marxism, I got a friend who really likes that book, Marxism, and he didn't critique Marx at the end of the book, and he was just basically explaining the theories of Marx, and
because he was an ex-Marxist, right?
Yeah.
I had to look at it, but I'll try to see if it's accurate or not. But
yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. Well, you might have some minor disagreements on his interpretations and the chapters of explaining it, but hey.
Yeah. I just need more money to buy more books, essentially.
Also, why do you can you just give me a short version why you think Thomas Sowell is useless?
Basically, this is going to be bad. I know it's not much of a critique, but he says, say a claim affirmative action's wrong. Affirmative action's wrong because of this. When you look at his sources are from 20 years ago, basically proving the point of the present. He's not showing the updates of these arguments. He's not showing what could have changed in statistics. Instead, he's just using those statistics from before to prove that it's bad now. That's my main criticism of it.
Oh. Huh.
And also, his ridiculous book, White Redneck. What was it? Was it
Black Rednecks?
Black rednecks and white liberals. He's basically blaming ghettos on whites. It to the extent, yes, but it's funny because that kind of agrees with Marx's that everything's white supremacy. Like some of the Marxists out there.
Well, he was a Marxist, so
yeah. But if it was some sort of gotcha by the left from that book, it actually wasn't. It actually proves the Marxist point that white liberals and white conservatives are not to be trusted.
also Thomas Sowell's main critique of Marx that he just felt like Marx just started in the middle.
Started in the middle?
Yeah.
Like how? Like how? What do you mean? What do you mean by the middle?
Like that his analysis started in the middle, that he was giving something that was incomplete.
Well, it's incomplete because he was trying to figure it all out. His whole point of Capital is trying to figure out how capitalism functions. That's why he spent all those volumes. And in fact, he wanted to write more volumes, but he died. So,
well, yeah, Soul is aware of that, but I don't remember the exact criticism of that. But he said he just felt like Mark just started in the middle and went on from there.
that's interesting, but
And also he critiques Lenin as well.
yeah. Well, what did he say about Lenin?
He said that for imperialism, the West for more industrial nations are most likely to reshuffle their resources among themselves than actually, you know, just to actually to exploit the third world.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Mao didn't want. That's why him, with the help of Deng Xiaoping, made the three worlds theory kind of thing. And
also, in that book, he also criticized Bonaparte.
Who's that?
He was he's part of the Austrian school. He wrote a book called Karl Marx of the Close of His System. And he basically stated that Marx used a different version of the labor theory of value, and Sol just pointing out it was just Marx was basically using a dialectical method in the third volume of Das Kapital.
Oh, okay, so it was another person claiming that Karl Marx made up the labor theory of value from Ricardo or Adam Smith.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that because Marx explicitly says it's different. Like, people confuse Adam Smith's labor theory of value with Marx. Like, Smith was the one that said, all labor is valuable, when Marx explicitly separated between use value and exchange value. It's in the first chapter of Capital in Volume 1. Like, yeah. If you just read that simply, it says, no, that's not the case.
Yeah. You might like the book. I think so. Rather gave a good exposition of Marx.
I don't know. I'll check it out. I mean, I'll keep an open mind. I try to keep an open mind in anyone I read, even though I know some.
It's a short read.
Yeah, might be a PDF of it.
Also gave a critique of Marx's theory of history.
Historical materialism.
Yeah, he said, basically said retrogression. Basically, just looking back the further the cause of the or that Marx didn't really account for retrogression.
Russia-aggression, like Russia.
Retroaggression.
What did he mean by that?
Let's see. Right now I got the book. Right now I got the PDF file with me. And okay, here it is. The possibility of retroaggression is not merely a philosophical point, but also a practical matter that can be spontaneous in its implications. It was 1,000 years after the fall of Rome before the average standard of living in Europe rose again of the Roman times. Ignoring the dangers of retroaggression can mean sliding into the belief that nothing could be worse than society exists being criticized.
So he's saying that if Marx didn't realize that communism could be worse than capitalism.
Well, I think he's just more so criticizing that things are more complicated than it seems.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, that could be it. Yeah, I would agree with that to a certain extent. It's always getting complicated, and Marx tries to classify it because he worked with the International Working Men's Association. They had to give like a brief explanation why what's going on in the world, but also he had to he had to make he had to make 3 volumes of Capital explaining, how it functions. So he understand the complexity, but he simplified it because workers don't have time to read volumes of Capital,
Yeah.
especially if you're a peasant in the third world. You don't have time to read that and actually study it.
Oh, what's your thoughts on third world Maoism anyway?
Uh, uh I think it's a noble goal for people like Ray on Twitter, Ray Murasami. Uh, but like it doesn't benefit me. It doesn't benefit my self-interest. No matter how many times she would try to appeal to me or say, oh, you could actually help out the third world. It's like, no, for one, I'm a white guy too. I live in the West, and according to most Maoist third worlders, I'm basically a labor, aristocrat. So it's not in my self-interest, you know.
Oh, well, oh, I'm talking. I might be talking to her tomorrow, Raymer or somebody.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
You
smart
are?
gal, smart gal, racist. I love her already.
Yeah. Yeah. She's feisty, but she's also nice.
Yeah,
Just
and racist as well. I just like that. I just like that Asian race. I just like that racism that comes with Asians.
I don't think she's racist. I think she she wants people to
I think
choose to separate from each other if they want to into racial groups. I mean,
I don't know. I think she made like several of this. I think she made several racist statements on tweets. Well, that could be classified as racist.
it's classified as racist, but the same people who are doing it are shadowboxing with all right. So
Good point.
these same people who are calling them, calling her
Oh,
racist are the same ones who promote white identitarianism. So,
oh man, I really hope she don't watch this stream because I just called her a racist.
rifle. uh, well, you two can settle that.
Oh man, we're gonna fight. We're probably gonna fight tomorrow on pretty much on every topic.
Oh, just a suggestion. Like, just be nice to her. I mean, she's a person like everyone else. Uh, find out some stuff on third worldism before you talk to her. As like Mao said, no investigation, no right to speak. So make sure you check out
Yeah.
some research on that. Explain to her your third worldism can't really benefit me because I live in
Well,
this.
well, it's probably gonna be more like more ideological. Like I'm still pretty much a libertarian. I'm still pretty much a libertarian, and she, I don't know, she's intent to kind of blame liberalism. Also, that might be it might be a good talk on the differing political philosophies. Actually,
Uh-huh. Well, she does promote free trade just for a different reason. I'm not going to tell you specifically, but I know her reason, but you would have to figure it out yourself. Why would she support free trade as a Marxist, Leninist, Maoist?
what's your where do you think the failure of classical liberalism lies in?
Well, frankly, it doesn't exist anymore. Like, no matter how many times people want to claim themselves as classical liberals, it just doesn't exist anymore. It's branched off into two different ideologies, mainly conservatism or libertarianism. The classical liberals of yesterday are considered libertarian or conservative today. It just doesn't exist, in my opinion.
Do you think it ever existed at all through history?
It existed. I mean, you got John Locke, you had John Stuart Mill, you had Adam Smith. You had all these thinkers. You had Voltaire. You had all these that came from the Enlightenment. It existed for a time. After, say, the 20th century, it's gone because it's been branched off into different ideologies. Like each conservative thought, each libertarian thought originates from classical liberalism.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I could see where the fascists are coming from their point of view of liberalism.
Well, it's like people like Sargon. It's like, well, I'm a classical liberal and I still consider myself the left. It's like classical liberals today would be considered right because of its mainly stance on free trade, political freedom, less government intervention, free markets. Like it would be considered right today. So for you to still claim you're left, you just have to call yourself moderate liberal. Because you're a liberal who wants capitalism to exist, but you still want a state, you want a military, you want a police, you want all this other stuff. So you either call yourself moderate liberal or like a social democrat. If not, you're just right. You're just like a libertarian, or you're just like a conservative.
Well, Sargon is best described as a '90s Democrat anyway.
Yeah. He's a big waste of time. Frankly, like I don't even know why people want to still debate him. It's a waste of time.
Your thoughts on the garbage liberal nightmare fuel?
Total garbage. What can I say? He says anyone who attacks or like criticizes Israel is like to him deemed anti-Semitic. Like they're automatically anti-Semites. It's really stupid. What else? Like his anti-theist stance. Yeah, it's like, oh, I want all religion gone, and Christianity and Islam, I want it all gone. And it's like, and you're gonna replace it with what? Humanism? That's another religion. You know, as Stirner said, you know, some atheists are pious people. They just are. They're fervent in their religion, just like everyone else.
Well, atheism is a lack of religion.
It's like they don't get it. It's like, okay, you can stop worshiping God. That's fine. I don't care. I think God's stupid too. But it's like, but I have these moral principles. Okay, where do these moral principles come from? Well, blah, 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 blah. Well, you see, Christianity is the most immoral religion. It's like, oh, God damn it. There's a quote from Stirner. Hold on.
The guy who's been debunking spooks for 200 years.
Spooks. He debunked Feuerbach. He debunked all that. What's it? Trying to get this fast, but go to Marxist.org for this. Control F. Okay, here it is. Moral people skimmed off the best fat from religion, ate it themselves, and are now having a tough job to get rid of the resulting scrofula. That's basically Stirner. And then in context of that, it was him critiquing Proudhon on the morality of the people. So yeah, moral people skimmed the best fat of religion. They ate it themselves, and they're having a hard time removing it themselves. So there you go. It's moralistic. The problem is the idea of fixed ideas, telling everyone that you should follow them. You know, that's the issue here. That's why there's a problem with Christianity, because he told everyone they need to believe in God or they're heretics. They just don't
If you don't believe in God, I sentence you to burn in hell for 1,000 years, and you be cast in the lake of fire.
And
Right.
I'm a Christian. I do believe in God.
But like you see like how bad like this thinking is, like if everyone should believe what I say or you're fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
Like that's not how life works. People have different experiences. People have different environments in which they learn different things. So some person from India can't help that he was raised a Hindu. Sorry, it's complicated. Life's complicated. Learn how to deal with that.
It was like I never experienced a bad experience with a Christian fundamentalist, or I never met all the Christians I met in life were incredibly wise and rather loving people to be around with.
Yeah, there's some people that I encounter like that. Some like idiots, going up to people in the streets and saying like homosexuality or stuff, you'll be burned in hell, preaching in like art fairs and stuff. Yeah, assholes like that. But you know what you do? You just ignore them. don't. The only thing that you get, the power you get from that, is from your head. That's the only way you're gonna give them power. If you just ignore them, there's no power in that. I can stop believing God right now. There you go.
Well, I wish we will stop believing in the state, and that will.
Well, yeah, stop believing in the state, stop believing in culture, stop believing in religion. It's these dreams, but I realize that these beliefs are here for a reason, and that it's for the control of the masses. Because most people are dumb, and I'll admit it as a dumb person. I'm dumb.
Well, you don't seem dumb. Well, you gotta be smart enough to be self-aware that you're dumb. So, well, you're smart in that sense.
I guess. I mean, the first thing you to admit is that you're wrong sometimes. I mean, like, I'm still young. I mean, I'm still trying to learn. I mean, but I still believe everything's just a metaphysical abstraction. It's that for a reason. It's like how like the left tries. Some people on the left try to say, "Oh, this is a social contract." It's like, okay, so what? So what if it's a social contract? They don't have. I haven't heard any arguments ever since that. If you say, yeah, it's a social contract, social construct. So what? What are you gonna do? I haven't heard anything from it. I haven't heard a response from that. So,
yeah,
that's how I do it.
Also, you seem to like Marx. Like you seem to agree with him on a lot of things.
Oh, well, first of all, my view on Marx is complicated. Okay, I used to be a Marxist, and I used to be an ardent follower of Marx. That is, until people start saying, "Oh, Marx never said anything wrong," and if you reject the 4 or 5 planks of not the planks, like if you reject these tenets, then you're not a true Marxist. And it's like, okay, this is dumb. And then you realize what happened to Soviet Union and China. It's like these even if these things were great, these countries, they're gone. What plan do you have now? Especially in the West. How can communism rise in the West? It's not. Like even some Marxists I've talked to admit the last country to fall into socialism would be America. Because it's a red scare. It's like anything remotely, say, government regulated or say socially acceptable to the left would be considered by the right to be communist. Like the Federal Reserve to some of these libertarians are considered communist. And how ridiculous that sounds.
Well, they can blame that on Ron Paul in his book and the Fed.
Well, that and The Creature from Jekyll Island. Stupid book.
well, Well, he did. Well, Ron Paul didn't say. Well, he didn't say. He just mentioned that was one of the 10 places of communism, and this and be after that, and this is a path to authoritarianism. That was basically it. He didn't say that Marxist wants that. He just
No, but other people are. They connected the dots. They connected the dots to Ron Paul's book. Like, see, this is communism now. Or like the NRX people would say, America is as communism as apple pie. What Mensch's Moldbug said, because apparently our values, our stuff inside capitalism is basically with Marx's tendencies. So that's their logic about communism being as American as apple pie. It's a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. There's some merit to that, but overall, I just think that's ridiculous.
So just no, just you just describe your views as Marx as complicated. Just
it's complicated because it's like some of the things he says about capitalism are valid, but his conclusions are absolute shit. Communism is where everyone's united together, in this, stateless, classless, moneyless society where everyone could just be what they want and do what they want. Like, as that, like Marx's online on Twitter, Jehu, I don't know if you know who that is. He's like, his famous quote was, "Communism is just free time and nothing else." It's like, I already have free time. It's called off work. I mean, it's just, the conclusions are absolute shit. You're not going to bring everyone to equality. And when you read the history of the tensions between Mao's China and the USSR, you could see like they're dividing themselves over issues relating to geopolitics. They considered themselves as like enemies at some points. The whole relationship was complicated because Moscow wanted to be the center of the socialist revolutions, and everyone needs to report back to Moscow. Meanwhile, Beijing was doing its shit and caused cultural revolution and all that jazz, and everyone wanted nothing to do with Mao after that.
Ooh. Well, let's see. If I was given the choice to live in Mao's China or the Soviet Union at the time, let's see. I probably live in the Soviet Union.
Well, funny enough, the Soviet Union actually discriminated against African Americans there. So, so African students were more likely to be treated well in China, who are communists, than say Soviet Russia. There are incidents in like Baku and Azerbaijan and Georgia where they're being discriminated and laughed about, and actually like beaten up a little bit. But of course, people on Twitter, the tankies, are going to deny it and post like this 20-second clip of some guy some black guy praising the Soviet Union. Propaganda. Propaganda for their tanky masses.
Well, if you're interested of a guy who likes to debunk tankies, he's a very apolitical figure.
Denying history?
Yeah, you know who that is?
Yeah, I know who it is. I watch his videos on Holocaust denial and the whole Holodomor denial.
Oh, I talked to that. Okay, here's a conversation I had with Denying History. We talk about the Holocaust, Holodomor, and the roads.
Yes, that's all it, because that guy is focused entirely on that for the most part. Like, that's his life, is debunking that.
well, also at some point in the conversation, we call someone that we particularly know retarded for some reason. Mm-hmm. That I love Denying History.
Seems like a nice dude.
Yes.
He was on that that live stream with academic agent and Ray about the Russia meddling thing, the Russian probe. I tried watching that.
Yeah.
I just thought academic was just awful. He wasn't making any points. He's like, this is just all fictional, and yeah, this is just nonsense. It's like, can you please explain why it's nonsense? It's like, nope. It's like, okay. It's like Ray's making points about, you know, certain Russian counts and stuff, and you're basically just dismissing it because fuck it.
So, what's your thoughts on the Russians hacking or attempted to hack the election?
It happened, like, you know, it did happen, but it's been hyperventilized to the point like no one takes it seriously anymore because no one cares. Recently, I just got an email from Twitter about this Russian investigation thing. Let me see. Information regarding the Russian influence campaigns. As part of our recent work to understand Russian-linked activities on Twitter during the 2016 president election, we identified and suspended a number of accounts that were potentially connected to propaganda effort by the Russian government-linked organization known as the Internet Research Industry. It just goes on to say, like, you know, we know how Twitter is just basically a shit posting place, and we're just trying to make sure we get all the Russian bots away. It's like, Russian bots. I complain about, you know, how much I hate Russia on here multiple times, and people give me shit for it. No. Like, I even complain about Russia being the way it is because of its policies in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s from this and took inspiration from nationalists and the far right by the guy named Francis Parker Yockey. He was a follower of Spengler, and he wrote this book called Imperium. Imperium basically is a book talking about his philosophy, and some parts of it he mentions how, you know, if he had to choose between Russia, the Soviet Union, and the United States, he would choose Russia because even though they have communism in their minds, they're still Europeans in their hearts. And they would support that over the continuing degradation of American society. And people don't believe me when when it's like Russia evolved, you know, this was a natural state of which Russia turned out to be. And you look at the Marxists today, Marxist-Leninists defending Russia. Like how ridiculous that is. Russia is complete opposite of what Marxism is now. Complete opposite. It's an imperial state run by oligarchs. But they still support it because it's against Western imperialism, and they hope the Soviet Union comes back. That's what they're hoping on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, do you think they actually hacked the election, as in that fully?
They advertised you know, stuff like and provided false information across social media, but everyone does that. So.
Oh, so does it? So every foreign power does that.
Yeah, every foreign power does that. Even the United States does it. But that doesn't make it right either, in accordance to geopolitics. It doesn't make it right that Russia hacked it. Just because we hack it doesn't make it right for Russia to. Two wrongs don't make it right. Or in case that's how it should be.
Yeah, just like I know, like I watched the stream, and the person who was with Ray at the time was making good points. Huh? Yeah, Nero.
Yeah.
Although I get frustrated with him at times, but he makes a good point that you know that Russia is pretty much contrary to American interest, such as in the Middle East and some other places.
Right, because Russia's another global power, just like China.
Yeah.
It would be like Obama saying, like, I want to be best friends with Beijing, and then watch Fox News basically react to the same way the Democrats and the resistance are right now. Oh my God, Obama's a Marxist now. That's basically what their reaction would be. The same shit that we're seeing with Trump, with the resistance. So stupid.
Yeah. 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 Also, you seem like, you see me on Twitter, just basically me interacting with everyone on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. You interact with me a lot too. Like you recently interacted with me about Spengler, and you saying that what did you say? He's dense like every German philosopher. But I asked you about Max Turner, and you haven't read about him, so it's like how could you say every German philosopher is dense if you didn't read like every one of them? And you basically said because of their language, the German language itself is very dense, and to an English speaker, it may seem convoluted. I mean, to an extent, yes. To the modern layman, yes. But to me, I kind of understand it because English and German are inherently connected together because of their Saxon ancestry. So that's why I kind of see it as easy.
Yeah. There's that reputation,
The reputation of being Nazis.
No, just Eastern European philosophy tend to be convoluted at times.
Well, German's different from Eastern.
I meant, did I say Germans? I meant Eastern Europeans.
Yeah, Eastern Europeans like Russians and stuff. Russian writing could be a bit convoluted because it experiences a different time period, experience a different environment. Like Dostoevsky, I haven't read him yet, but it looks complicated because it's dealing with how he's experiencing Russia at that time. It was under the Tsar. And it's a complicated time period because then you replaced a Tsar with, a bureaucratic system known as the Soviet Union. And that was convoluted with Stalin. Stalin, inadvertently and did kill millions of people. Like he did. He killed his own people. He purged his own people. The Moscow trials did exist. The Holodomor did exist.
Which is our Stalinist policies didn't help.
It did help with industrializing the country, but the result of it is according to most people, an immoral act of killing millions of people in the process.
Yeah.
But are we surprised though? It's Russia. Russia's always been a shitty place.
Yes, it has.
Even like the Tsar wasn't better than the Soviet Union, and vice versa. It just caused more problems.
Yeah. So just I don't know, like you think you think America is exceptional anyway?
Exceptional in how long it's existed and how it's able to survive this long. I would say, yeah.
Like, do you believe in American essentialism or just
no? I believe in non-intervention. I'm anti-war, and I'd be considered anti-American. So,
as long as you don't read no Chomsky, you're pretty good with me.
Yeah, I don't read Chomsky. I like his justification of Pol Pot.
I don't understand how Tanky's just tried to defend Pol Pot. He was not a Marxist.
He was not. He was a nationalist. His whole goal for bringing Marxism or Maoism, his version or his brand of communism was to bring nationalism, is to bring a new Khmer empire. That's why he called this group the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah.
It was inherently nationalist. And people and from the US supported Pol Pot in the later years, and so did Mao. And those were terrible mistakes. Terrible mistakes. And you know what? The Vietnamese, after they, had their own country, North Vietnam, they had the right to take, attack Cambodia and invade it, because Pol Pot was so shitty that you had to be taken care of. He had to be overthrown. So yeah, I would support that.
This Pol Pot was just so crazy.
Yeah, it was so crazy. Like I don't understand how anyone would support him. I'm seriously baffled how people would support him.
Well, Marxists say he wasn't a Marxist, and Donald Trump's be like, okay, this is totally like the United States for Pol Pot.
But he blames the U.S. because they're bombing the so-called Ho Chi Minh Trail, a way of connecting supplies and ammunition to guerrillas in South Vietnamese. But what he isn't getting is the fact of the matter is that both Mao and U.S. and British supported Pol Pot, before and later. So everyone in that situation is to blame. Everyone. Mao to blame. The U.S. to blame. The Khmer Rouge to blame. Because they all funded him in different time periods, though. But they all funded him. All of them are blamed to Pol Pot, especially Pol Pot, especially the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah.
Just nonsense.
Yeah. Let's see. Actually, what's your problem with U.S. current foreign policy?
It's becoming more war hawk. We're still involved in Syria. We're still supplying to FSA. America wants a war of Iran and North Korea, and want a war with Iran because of Israel, because Bibi wants it. Bibi's Benjamin Netanyahu, and is trying to cause a war with North Korea, but in fact, Trump doesn't understand Jude Che's policy, and that it's all self-determination, and it's like they're not going to attack unless America attacks. No matter how many rockets that fat fuck Kim Jong-un shoots in the sea, he's not going to actually attack the U.S. That would be a dumb idea, and he knows it. It's why the Jude regime has existed for that long. It's to cause this controversy. It's caused this mess up. It's the fear. It's to make Americans and their allies fearful, but he's not going to actually attack. If he does attack, he's going to regret it because everyone's pointing at him. So that's my viewpoint of it. Foreign policy, non-interventionists. They should try to negotiate some deals, open up free trade. As Bastiat said, if goods don't cross borders, soldiers will. I don't want that. I don't want another war. That's my spook.
Well, let's open trade with Russia. They don't make anything, but hey, let's do it anyway.
They're going to make things regardless of our bans or freezing assets. So
I got that from Ray. Like they don't make anything.
Yeah, they legit depend on everyone else. The best thing they can do is export oil. That's the best thing they could do.
Even then, they're still messing up because didn't they nationalize their oil industry, Russia?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're messing up right there. They need to privatize that.
They're fucked. That's why they're looking into options in Syria, because they have oil there too. So that's the main reason why they support Assad, because of the oil.
Everything about that black gold oil.
definitely.
That's rather unfortunate.
Hmm.
Well, if you ask me, if you ask me that these people are always going to be a cycle of violence, so let's let these people kill each other.
Uh, well, I prefer non-violence, but I guess it's inevitable because nature is full of violence. Everything's derived off the use of force.
Yeah, although that was that social Darwin is coming out at me.
Yeah, that's the Ragnar Redbeard coming out of me. Might makes right. That's what happens. You can't enforce a law without might.
Do you think natural law is a myth or natural rights?
Yeah, natural rights is a myth.
Why do you think that?
Hate to burst your bubble. Well, natural rights are a myth because as I said about Rothbard, like they had different viewpoints of what natural rights are. They couldn't agree on a universal preference of what natural rights is, and that it's just another word of saying God. But they just don't want to say the word God. We'll just justify it using axioms that are deemed quote unquote scientific. So there's that. And the fact that it's not a natural law to, say kill someone. I don't want to murder someone because it's not based off my self-interest. That's it. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Oh, funny. I was supposed to interview a natural law philosopher, but that didn't happen.
Well, oh boy. I wonder how that was going to be if that actually happened. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Oh, not really.
No.
I think there's been a productive conversation.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Is there anyone in chat talking about anything?
No, I think it's just only 3 people watching this.
Oh, okay. Maybe later. You got some, probably in a hate mail or something.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna end the broadcast here.
All right, sounds good.
It was nice talking to you, the independent ego.
Nice talking to you. All right, see ya.
Yeah.